Okay, who here hasn't been to space?
Why?
You better not throw up on my ship.
Approaching jump in 3, 2, 1.
What's up and what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel where we discuss all things movies, TV, streaming, hot topics, reactions, and more. And one of the hot topics that are going on right now is that Kevin Feige, well, a little bit late on this, but we're talking about it now, is that Kevin Feige is wanting a big name director to helm over the new Fantastic Four film that was announced back, I want to say, in D23 2020. One of those names that has been put out there. We've seen Spike Lee's name put into the hat. We've seen Steven Spielberg's name put into the hat. So many different directors' names that have been out there. But before we get into that, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and reading what the direct had to say about these decisions.
Yeah. According to Deadline's Justin Kroll, there's a large mix of candidates in the search to replace John Watts as the director of Fantastic Four, following his recent departure. Marvel Chief Creative Officer Kevin Feige and his team are taking a lot of shots at some big names. No names have currently surfaced for who could be cast or hired as director. However, regarding the production of Fantastic Four, one source told Kroll that Kevin Feige doesn't want to oversee the entire shoot, and after not having to worry about that with Raimi, he is very game to the same outcome with this shoot.
Now see, that's my issue with the whole looking for a big name director and Kevin Feige saying that. It's not the big name director, it's what Kevin Feige said. It's that he does not have to look over it as much because, you know, he didn't have to with Multiverse of Madness with Sam Raimi, and not that Multiverse of Madness was a bad film, it wasn't, but it is not top tier Marvel. It's like top 10 maybe, and you know, and it's not a bad film, it's a great film, but this is my problem. This is what we discussed a while ago when we never posted that video, but I said, are the cracks starting to show with Marvel? Are we starting to see, and I'm not saying that the cracks are showing like that, but I'm saying we are seeing a decline in people being interested in Marvel, I would say, in Phase 4. Just simply because Feige's hand is not on everything. He said it on the red carpet before Multiverse of Madness. He hated how much was put in the trailers.
Is there a particular sequence, maybe something we've seen in the trailer already, that you were really excited to bring to screen?
There's been too much in the trailers. I don't want to talk about anything else, but I will say Sam.
Back in the day, Feige would come from one trailer viewing to talk about this movie, to then go to this trailer to talk about this, but with his hands not on everything. That is the magic of the MCU. The first 10 years of the MCU, Kevin Feige's hands have been on everything. You take that man's hands off everything, you're getting what the fuck we're getting now. And that's, again, it's just a decline in quality is what it is. It's a decline in quality. I mean, but when you hear Kevin Feige is looking for a big name for the Fantastic Four, does that worry you that Papa Feige's not involved, or are you more on the side of saying, let's Steven Spielberg or someone else helm it in?
No, I think it's going to be bad even if Kevin Feige did it.
Really?
Hear me out. This has never been done right. Fantastic Four has always been a failed franchise for movies, right? I don't know if it has to do with how their powers translate onto the screen. I'm not entirely for sure. But I even thought the weakest part of Multiverse of Madness was Reed Richards. In the sense that, oh cool, it was John Krasinski and you see him, that's great. And then the smartest man in the universe, just walks in and gets turned into spaghetti in 10 seconds. Like, I don't think it was done right.
He was going against Scarlet Witch.
He knew he was going up against Scarlet Witch, though.
But they were overconfident. They were all overconfident.
Which is not something Reed Richards would do. But, hear me out. We can look at it statistically, it's never gone well to do a Fantastic Four movie. So the best opportunity you could have is having Kevin Feige involved. And the fact that he's not even going to have his hands on it, like this should be one that you should be worried about bombing. The first big MCU bomb. Because every time it's bombed. So you would want your hands on it the entire time. You should oversee it fully like you've done all the other phases. But just, I'll grab a big name director, they'll know what to do. No one knows what to do with the Fantastic Four.
See, I will say, I'm the same way as far as his hand needs to be on it. But as far as, like, if you get a big name director, that does kind of change things a little bit. Because imagine a Steven Spielberg hand on a Marvel Cinematic Universe film.
I wouldn't, if you get Steven Spielberg, why would, out of all the things you can give a director that good, you give him Fantastic Four? Hey, make this work.
Fantastic Four is Marvel's first family, though. Steven Spielberg himself right now is currently working on a family film.
I mean, and that's all cool, but you know what Fantastic Four also is? The, like, biggest... It's them and Green Lantern as, like, biggest bombing superhero movies. They've tried to revive it more than once. First Family, nobody cares. Clearly, from what we've seen on film, no one liked them.
Yeah, no, the movies were
and
terrible.
what I'm saying is, you can make
a cult following.
Sure, but you didn't translate into box office sales.
No, it did not translate to box office sales.
Right, so
but
you give
that's because those movies were terrible.
Yes, but
we're talking about the MCU.
You give it to Spielberg, which I personally think, if you bring in someone like Spielberg, give him something really juicy. That's what I think. That's just me personally. I think if you have a talent like that,
I think that you are so hurt on, and I'm not saying hurt personally, but I think that you are so hurt on the bad films that it is blinding your vision of the MCU and what Kevin Feige and the MCU are planning to do to the Fantastic Four.
Well, Kevin Feige plans on stepping back.
He does plan on stepping back, but that
his own words, he doesn't plan on doing much with it at all.
But that does not still mean that this is not still within the MCU. If you put I'm in the agreement. I started this with saying the exact same thing. I don't want projects where Kevin Feige is not involved like that, but I'm not against if you have a big name director like Steven Spielberg and Kevin Feige, because it's not like he was just ignoring Multiverse of Madness. He had his input. He was the one that said, no, after the screenings, we're doing 6 more weeks of reshoots because the screenings suck. So it's not as if he's not going to have his hand, like, somewhat involved. It's just not going to be heavy like it's been. So, we are talking about the MCU's Fantastic Four.
No, and I get that, and that's fair and fine. But other than probably Loki, and maybe WandaVision, I haven't seen a full 10 out of 10 out of this new phase.
No.
I mean, Shang-Chi was great, sure. I mean, go back, for those of you that are big Marvel fans, go back and watch the older movies. They don't do them like they used to.
And you want to know why there is a decline?
Because Feige's hand is off it.
Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
But no, my point is I just don't know. I feel like for taking a franchise that in movies has always done bad, and then Feige, the one thing that always makes Marvel movies work, saying, oh, I'm going to back up a little bit, because even Doctor Strange, like, sure, they did 6 weeks of reshoots, and it was still like a 7. It's not in my top 10, that's for sure.
No, it was still definitely that.
So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think Fantastic Four, they're very important for the story that Marvel is going to tell. It's just like,
but see,
these movies have never done good.
Well, Q, I want to hear what Q has to say, but I do want to add something to what you just said there. When you said that you talking to MCU fans, you're look at the first 10 years of it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I've been bitching about the whole time. That people have been kind of saying, oh, well, you sound crazy. No, bro. It is the connective tissue of the MCU that made that first 10 years so goddamn successful, and it started with the first Iron Man when we saw Nick Fury come in and say the Avengers fucking initiative.
I also think it was, I think if you discount the cast.
No, of course the cast.
There was magic in so many avenues.
that was a magic thing, but the connective tissue of it all. Disney Plus has not landed that with their shows. They haven't landed what the movies do as far as like the overall connective tissue. Mm-hmm. Yes, we see bits and pieces, we see cameos and whatever here in the Disney Plus shows, but they have not tied all that together.
Right, and I think
that's why I think people aren't interested.
Because you're never going to get that Gen 1 Avengers line.
None of these shows that we've seen yet have really needed to be looped into the big storyline yet, because we've really only got intros.
But see, now you're stepping away from your formula. That's the problem.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, don't step away from it, but I'm saying before you integrate them into the big storyline, you gotta intro them into the storyline. For sure. So it's like, that process may take a bit longer due to how many new characters they're giving. Like, they don't have to give us Miss Marvel. I think one of the things that's maybe making the quality a little worse is we used to get maybe, 3 Marvel movies a year? Now we're getting TV series, movies. We're getting them everywhere. We're getting them more frequently.
I think you're right about, so it's a multitude of things, because you are stepping away from the canon MCU storyline, right? I'm going to say canon, you're still in the canon, but you know what I'm saying? You're branching away from as far as you can get from the main storyline to do these origin stories,
Right.
you're also taking Feige's hand off. You're also losing your Gen 1 lineup, which was, oh my god. You know what I'm saying? Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor. Like, you're not that anymore.
Right.
So I think these multiple things compound into what we're dealing with now. And then if you have a little bit of a miss, like, I could have let you go and not given so much shit to Moon Knight about the fact that it wasn't very Moon Knighty to me. But you're doing that with a lot of these series where people are kind of like, you're falling short. Hawkeye sucked. You know, like, you're falling short on a guy. It's starting
But
to
I
be more
also feel
apparent.
like, too, there's no consequence in these Disney Plus shows. Like, what is the consequence that's making the average viewer feel as if they have to watch Moon Knight? To where it's connected to the writer.
No,
There's
you're right. You're right.
consequence.
If it was a driving, you gotta watch it to know what's about to
that's what-
happen.
There's no consequence
well,
holding the average
let's
viewer
look
to be
into
like,
the-
oh, I need to watch this.
The new movies, I feel like the new movies have done well at least though.
Yeah.
It's like-
The movies are
but I
laying the
think
groundwork.
I also
even-
think it's suffering from the fact they're doing origin stories.
That's what I'm
like,
saying though. If we're just looking at the TV shows, most of these TV shows have been intro stories. It's like we want to complain about maybe not having so much to do with the main storyline. It's like they have to get these intros
I
out
feel
first.
you
But I
on
don't.
that.
But they don't, because what did they do with Spider-Man? Spider-Man did not have an MCU origin story.
What are you talking about? In the MCU?
Who
Yes.
fucking knows
Oh,
who
yeah.
Spider-Man
No.
is? You get,
Yeah, but I'm saying you can.
Oh, you're talking
bring-
about the bite. The whole bite
Yeah,
thing.
we didn't have the
Okay,
Uncle
right.
Ben
Oh,
dying
okay,
again in
okay.
the origin stories. More often than not, can suck, dude. It's slow.
But we haven't
It's them
come out
learning
with
their
any
powers.
Spider-Man characters like that this year.
No, I'm aware of that, but what I'm saying is
See,
like
I'm
you
just
can have
saying
a character be a part of something and then explain their origin as time goes by. You don't have to stick to the same formula for every single hero. It's not every hero gets their origin, then we bring them in. Bring one of them in, and it's like, who the fuck is that, dude? And if that is a successful character that people want to know more about, then give them their own series.
But see, here's the thing too, though. What you said about the shows and origins and this and that. Within the damn She-Hulk trailer, which was what, a minute, 2 minutes, they talked about more of the wider MCU than they did in the 6 episodes of Moon Knight.
Right.
And you know, just in these 2 episodes of Miss Marvel, the wider MCU is right there.
Yeah, talking about Valkyrie.
You know,
about,
exactly,
that
that's
they're
what I'm
going to
saying.
be a Carol Danvers
Like,
cosplay.
like that's what people want. Like, I
But
think
is
in
it- so is it-
She-Hulk, there's going to be consequence to where people are going to be like, oh, fuck, I need to watch this to understand this.
That's what I'm saying. Is it maybe getting better at it then? Maybe it's just a slow start.
I mean,
It's like-
this is the beginning of a new phase.
I don't know,
like-
because it's like, if I look at the movies that have come out, speaking towards Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, those are the 4 we've got, really. It's like, all those movies, those are really, even if we want to count, what's the Far From Home, the second Spider-Man, those are all movies after Endgame, but it's like, those are all starting up a whole nother story to start the next phase. It's like with the Eternals, it's like we're getting to understand why what happened in Endgame happened, like the main reasoning for everything.
Right.
And so it's like the movie, I feel like the movies at least have done if not good, they've done a well enough job to try to connect them to the bigger story, at least because I understand what they're trying to do.
Right.
But I do get where you're coming from on the TV show aspect of it, so it would count as just the whole
right.
production
But I
or
mean-
company or whatever.
I mean, just back to the original topic at hand here with the Fantastic Four. Like, it just, I don't know. I mean,
well,
I-
but
I-
I don't want
by
the
the time it
Fantastic.
got to Fantastic Four, if Thor: Love and Thunder comes out and starts a story, right? We really kind of, and then we get Wakanda Forever, and we start to see these stories begin to intertwine, right? And the clear path is there, and Fantastic Four is along the way, and it obviously then will have the cameos and push the narrative and the story, sure. But like, if you're just giving me another origin story, Fantastic Four,
I don't believe it's going to be an
or if you are giving me a movie that is kind of standalone, I don't care
think
what
it's going to be
director you get.
standalone. I think it's obviously it's going to be, you know, obviously with intertwined within the MCU, but I don't think it's going to be an origin. I don't think we're going to see Johnny and Sue and Reed and Ben get their powers and Victor. I think it's, well, first of all, Victor's supposed to be in Wakanda Forever, so obviously the blast from space, them getting their powers,
Already happened.
it's already happened.
Right.
So if we see them, we don't know, you know, if they do that whole 60s thing where they've been trapped in the quantum realm, they're from the 60s, but then they get out of the quantum realm and they're in present day MCU. I don't really know exactly what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're going to do with the Fantastic Four. But as Marvel's first family, as as a family and heroes that have not been served justice on screen, they have to nail this. And that's not just me saying. I'm gonna go ahead and speak for the wider MCU. They have to nail this,
and that's why I think Feige taking his hands off.
In what though? They have to. Nail
it has to be
the movie. They have to nail the In my opinion, they just have to nail the.
They have to nail it all. The casting, the story, the movie.
I think the movie could flop potentially if the castings are good.
I just disagree because it's such a precious family to fans.
Yeah, no, I understand that 100%, but at the same time, as me personally, I'm more interested in what the characters are doing in the broader storyline, how they're popping up, and how we know we're gonna get Secret Wars and stuff. So how they're gonna appear in the other storylines and stuff. I'm not more so seeing how they do just in their own standalone film.
Right.
If they're gonna be brought into the MCU, I want to see the bigger picture. For them,
of course, I want to see the bigger picture, but
I'm gonna be real honest.
It's just I'm telling you, it's not. They've got to. This is Marvel's first family, and the MCU regular fans may not understand what that means, but to Marvel comics, to Marvel fans that have been Marvel fans from whatever, bro, this is Marvel's first family, and you have to get this shit right.
But it's like my fault.
No, go ahead.
How do you have to, seeing how shit it's done previously?
No,
it's like,
that's
it's like the only
reason.
way. I don't feel like you can do worse.
No, honestly, my
like
whole thing with this movie, it's not they have to. This is the kind of movie in a franchise I think needs to get done, and we be past it. And the reason I say that is because.
Just show
but let's be real honest here. You know, you saying these things like the first family is so important to the fans and blah blah blah. I think it is so important to the canonical Marvel storyline. I don't think everyone is just like the Fantastic Four is the greatest thing out of Marvel.
No, I'm not saying it like that.
That's why I'm saying no. They just need to.
But I am saying they are legacy characters. You look at you look at the Fantastic Four and look at Obi-Wan. You look at what they did with Obi-Wan. You look at the Fantastic Four. I said when Obi-Wan first came out, I don't know why we're doing it, but now that we're doing it, they have to nail this because it's a legacy character. You cannot fuck up a legacy character. They're legacy characters, and if you just bring them in and then you just throw and do whatever kind of story to them, I'm telling you.
Hold on, what are you defining as a legacy character?
I'm defining legacy characters as one, the selling points that the Fantastic Four do as far as comics, the popularity, not just the popularity, but also they are one of the first characters that were here that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee created. So those to me I consider to be legacy characters. Iron Man, Thor, She-Hulk, Spider-Man, Captain America, legacy characters. So when you are now taking legacy characters and finally pushing them into the MCU, it needs to be done properly, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, and I agree with you. I'm just saying, I think this is something just from the plague that is Fantastic Four movies, and the fact that Feige clearly doesn't really want to be that associated with it, from what he has said. I think it's a movie we just need to, as long as it's okay, that we can get past it, because they need to exist in this universe. That's all I'm hoping for.
See, I'm more so they don't need to.
And we are on different sides on that. Then.
Yeah, I mean, They can. Hopefully, they do nail it, do it properly, whatever. But in my personal opinion, they just seeing how shit it's done in the past. I mean, I just think that they need to show that it's possible, it's doable, and like I said, as long as they nail the castings and characters that want to perform and deliver a performance, then I mean, you can ignore storylines sometimes whenever it comes to how great an actor is performing. It may be one of those cases. I just feel like those storylines are harder to navigate.
Well, we definitely, last thing I'll say here, we definitely don't have the time to go deep into this, but Dakota Fanning is being looked at to possibly portray the Invisible Woman. If that is true and John Krasinski is going to be portraying Mr. Fantastic as Reed Richards, we know that John Krasinski is 42, Dakota Fanning is 28. In the comics, they do have a gap in their relationship, but I don't want to see that on screen. I don't want to see Dakota Fanning kissing John Krasinski. As far as Emily Blunt being the Invisible Woman, I do not see that happening either. So there are some rumors out there of who is going to be the Invisible Woman. We also know that Rudy JJ from Outer Banks is being looked at to possibly being the Human Torch. I think that he kind of fits that role pretty perfectly. So Anyway, let us know down below in the comments what you guys think. Are you thinking that the Fantastic Four is going to suffer due to Kevin Feige's hands not being on it? Are you thinking it's going to suffer because we are stepping outside the MCU formula and we are now grabbing a big name director, whereas in the past we've gone with lesser known directors? Are you thinking that it's the Fantastic Four, I don't really care, the story could be whatever? Or are you on the side of the fence that this is something that Marvel and the MCU have to actually nail? Let us know down below in the comments. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. See you in the next video.